You're on the air.
I am. You didn't say one. You said 3, 2, and then pause like the camera wasn't working. That's a great lie. I'm thinking of leaving the country and getting diplomatic immunity because my wife's a dual citizen and the U.S. government is holding her against her will and seized all of her assets illegally, and mine too. So let us travel back to Vietnam and so we got here, and to hell with this country with what they've done to me in my lifetime. Republicans say, hell no for national health care. Well, I was homeless as a kid because my dad couldn't afford all the doctor bills that mounted due to a lot of family injuries and illnesses. But now, the biggest threat we have is the liberal Democrats and the liberal media. Oh my God, Huckleberry Finn is a racist book. No schools should be allowed to read it anymore. Get rid of these Confederate statues. Get rid of everything. Well, most of our history is a damn lie anyway. Our first 2 presidents were black. It wasn't called the United States of America, it was called the Continental Congress of the Colonies. And the Declaration of Independence against Britain set up the first 2 presidents of the United States. They weren't elected by the people, they were elected by the leaders of the 13 colonies. And they were black. But we want to destroy history. Tear down everything. Wait a minute. How's the blacks and the minorities in America, like the Chinese, that thousands of them died forcibly building our railroads, will learn about history if the statues aren't there, the books aren't there, nothing is there to tell us about history. Did the Jews tear down history? Or the Germans? No. They made it into a monument to tell you what could happen. They have museums of where they put people to death in Germany. And they tell you how Hitler was so ruthless putting the Jews to death and other minorities to death in the country. But we want to destroy history. Huckleberry Finn is a good book. I read it as a kid. The black guy that was a lot older than that boy was his friend. But when anybody asked, he said it was my slave to protect the black friend of his, the older guy. Tom Sawyer was some great works of literary writings. And all these, the Confederate flag was not a sign of slavery, it was a sign of states' rights. They lied about history there too. The South succeeded for states' rights. Instead of the all-powerful federal government telling every state what it has to do and what it can't do. Because it was about slavery, why didn't the North succeed too? Because they had more slaves than the South working in their damn industrial factories. Usually under black control too. The biggest slave city in America for a long time was New York City, where the factories would come in and buy them and call them indentured servants. Once you pay us off by the work, we'll let you have your freedom. They beat the blacks worse than the white slave owners in the South. They killed them in the North. They treated them worse than their dogs or horses or pigs in the North in these factories. So don't blame the Confederate flag for slavery. Lincoln even had slaves up until he freed them, when he found out they were willing to fight for the freedom of slaves. And then he decided to free them. And at home in Illinois, he had slaves. So don't blame slavery on the South. We have to look at history and all of history and stop deleting it. Yeah, a lot of people use the Confederate flag for racism purposes. But that's not what it was for. That was to bring back the Constitution for states' rights, is why the South succeeded. It didn't turn in an issue about slavery until a year into the war, or 2 years into the war. So, think about destroying our history. It should stay there for the younger generations to look up and say, General Lee, what the hell was he? What war? What did he do? And have a plaque underneath that he led the Confederate Army to break up the United States. Or something to that point. But if we destroy all evidence of slavery, all things about human rights violations in America, destroy history, our younger generations won't know anything about it. We've destroyed everything about communism and socialism in America. That's why all these idiots are voting for Bernie Sanders. So, I don't know what to do in America anymore. We're destroying our history, and most of our history is a lie anyway. Thank you.